Your house is worth whatever it's worth, right? Whoever sells it. Wrong. I'm Charlie. Welcome to Moving Home with Charlie, and thank you for coming.
Charlie Landing grew up in Sussex, is the founder of Best Agent and presenter of Moving Home with Charlie.
If you want to find one of these guys, look out for those compassionate professionals. All estate agents are not the same.
So, Charlie, what would be your advice for people interested in buying new builds right now?
Don't overpay. Do buy, but don't overpay. That's why I say disregard the guff. Read into the numbers and look, and it's buried. The bad news is buried in the small print, okay?
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Property Press Awards.
They may or may not be telling the truth, but you should form your own view. Get out and view, get out and view, get out and view. You cannot be in a position to make offers and have the offers accepted if you're not viewing. So be out there viewing. Pay attention to the back of the class. If you've not been watching my videos, I did one just a couple of days ago. Disregard the guff. Oh, I don't know why, but some days a really good cup of tea just hits the spot more than on other days. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to another live stream. This is Moving Home with Charlie. I am Charlie. Welcome to all the new movers following me across all the platforms that we're live streaming on this evening. So we are on YouTube, we're on LinkedIn, we're on X, we're on Facebook, Instagram, and I think there's one more. This is a live stream and it's a live Q&A for sellers. I'm going to be covering a little bit about the ONS's house price index announcement today. Spoiler, you should ignore it. But most of all, I would like to take questions from sellers who are worried or struggling or have questions about their sale. I'm going to start with a question which I can't find. Someone sent it to me on private message and I now can't find it because across all those platforms, I get so many messages. And somebody said, "Hello, Charlie, I'm new to your channel. I wish I'd found it sooner because I think I've just made two of the mistakes you said sellers shouldn't make. Number one, I've signed a long sole agency contract for 16 weeks. Number two, I've gone on at too high a price. Already reduced once, don't think it's enough. What do I do now?" So this person has in fact made not two, but three mistakes, and don't feel bad because it's what most sellers do. And I really mean most. I'm talking about 80% of people putting their houses on the market make these three mistakes. Number one, they choose the wrong agent. Because they think, well, the house is worth whatever it's worth. Anyone that sells it will get the same price, right? Massive mistake. Massive mistake. Okay, number one, choosing the wrong estate agent is the worst mistake you can make. Number two, they also, having chosen the wrong agent, sign their terms and conditions, and buried in there it says how long the exclusive contract is, during which time you cannot sell your house with anybody else. And some of them go to 20 or even 26 weeks. So some of them are 6 months. And you will know after 4 weeks you've made a mistake because you just won't have any viewings or hardly any viewings happening. And when you've been sitting on the market and the first month is when you expect all the buzz of activity because they promised you, oh, we got lots of viewers, we'll get loads of viewings booked in the first couple of weeks. And you might have had a couple, but week 3, the phone stops ringing. Week 4, the phone stops ringing. It's a nightmare, right? And then you go, did we sign a contract with an agent? We didn't even talk about exclusivity, did we? So some of those agency contracts are incredibly long, and I think it is frankly disingenuous of anyone sitting in your house, handing over a contract piece of paper and expecting you to sign it without reading it. But that's what they do, and that's how they catch so many of you out. Having just made you think, they say, oh, I reckon we can get, and they pluck a number out of the air that's 20% more. They ask you what you want to go, yeah, no problem, we can get that. And the cruelty of this deliberate overvaluing, and not all agents do this, right? But most do. The very worst ones do it very, very badly. The cruelest part of it is that what you think when you're thinking of selling your house to move somewhere else and someone tells you that it's worth a surprisingly high amount is you think, we can afford that amazing home that we thought we couldn't afford. And you're going to sign anything in that moment, aren't you? Which is why you should never sign on the day. Leave the terms and conditions here. We'll read it together, sleep on it, and to let you know in the morning. And the more they try and pressure you into signing on the spot, the more worried you should be. Okay. So second mistake this person made was signing this long solidity contract. Roughly speaking, if they want you to sign anything for more than 4 weeks, the question should be, why do you need more than 4 weeks to find a buyer for my house? And if they want you to sign 12 weeks, you should, especially 12 weeks, why do I need to be stuck with you for 12 weeks? Are you not going to sell my house in less time than that? Now, if you as a seller have insisted on, well, I need this price and I want this price, and they've gone, okay, then that's kind of on you, the seller. And then they're going to say, well, we're going to need a long time to get that price because we're probably never going to get it. So, but if you're that kind of seller, you're already just stuffed. No one's going to just pay a price because you decide you want it. Well, I'm not selling then. Well, correct. You're not selling. Exactly correct. But the third mistake this person who asked me this question made. So number one, they chose the wrong agent. Number two, they signed a long solidity contract. Those are separate mistakes. Number three, they went on at too high a price. And that is possibly the worst. If you sign with an agent and you sign a long solidity contract, all is not lost at that point, provided you don't then overprice it, because that is your one and only chance to get lots of people through the door to view your property, to discover what the market will pay for your house. Okay. And if you put it on too high and then after 2 weeks go, oh, we've had no viewings, quick, drop the price, you instantly make yourself look like you're unrealistic or greedy, and you're on the back foot, and maybe you're desperate, and it just puts the good buyers off. So the answer to the question is, and I'm really sorry you found my channel too late, whoever it was that asked me this question. I'm sorry I can't remember who it is. I mean, first and foremost, you should try and get out of those contracts with those agents. It depends how much you like or dislike the agent. People say, should I change agent or not? That depends on a lot of things, a lot of specifics I would need to know before I could answer that question. But if you like the agent and feel a bit like, actually, it's kind of my fault because I wanted that really high price, the question to ask your agent is this: what is the price we need to drop it to get lots of people through the door? And say, please be honest, right? What is the price we need to drop it to make sure we get lots of people through the door so that we get competing bids? And you need roughly 4 viewings for every offer. Very roughly. That will vary depending on quality of agent, that kind of stuff, right? But on average, 4 viewings per offer. It's a broad rule of thumb. For some, it'll be more. If your house is overpriced, that number's going to be higher. You have viewings and no offers, right? But if your house is well priced, 4 viewings per offer, and that's right. And you want to have at least 3 solid proceedable offers. So you want to get at least 12 viewings. So you want to say to your agent, what do we need to do to get 12 or more viewings? And see what they say. And you should know from their reaction to that question whether or not they know what they're doing. Do not let them compound the first mistake of overpricing it and launching it at too high a price by only reducing it by not enough. Okay? That is just like adding insult to injury and making it worse. Because what you're doing is you're saying, we're still unrealistic if you don't drop the price enough. And you have to dispel the fear of, hang on, if we drop it too low, maybe we could be getting more and we won't get more. Well, that's why you have to get the pricing right the first time. Anyway, so that was the first question. I haven't checked if anyone can hear me. I always assume. Can everyone hear me? Good evening, everyone. Jack Waldron. Oh, God, there's lots of you. Roni, Geese, Amanda De Silva. That's a new name. Geese. Patricia, hi there. Corn Close. Jack May, Chris, Naida, Afzal, Matt. Yeah. Hi, Teddy. do it poorly. Why can't we? That's an interesting question. I'll get to that one. Why can't we just advertise our own houses for sale? Don't make that mistake either. Don't make the mistake of thinking you should sell without an agent, and unless you are a former agent. Good evening, Chinello Blessed. Right, the next question, and I'm going to get into the ONS data and stuff, but this is all, I'm here to help you if you're a seller. So please give me your seller questions. But here is the next question that I've got. So this is a private message on X. And by the way, if I really wish more people would send me their questions in an audio clip. Much more fun, much more likely to get answered. Well, in fact, I will definitely answer it on a live stream because it's great. So please do send me audio questions, and even better video if you want your handsome or pretty face to appear on the show. But let's get into this question. So, hi Charlie, question for your next show. What impact is the school holidays and Easter having on the market? School holidays and Easter, it will never make things busier. It usually makes things quieter, right? During the school holidays, there's less activity, generally speaking, because people are on holiday. That's the impact. It's only a temporary thing. It doesn't make anything happen to the market. There's just a temporary lull in activity whilst everyone's on holiday. Can we expect a flurry of new listings in the couple of weeks after that's out of the way, after Easter? In some areas, you might see that the spring bounce, people wanted to put their property on for the spring bounce. And there is already a lot of property on the market, much more than usual and more than at any time in the last 10 years. And it's mostly not selling. By what point might we know if the market is just going to remain dead for the rest of the year? I mean, as a whole, the market activity is kind of okay, but it has got quieter since April started and the stamp duty went up. But it doesn't matter how quiet it doesn't matter what the market is, right? Every property correctly priced will sell at any time. The people who want homes don't stop looking. They've looked there and everything there is overpriced, so they're going away and waiting for something sensible to be there. So, but I don't think we're going to see the usual spring activity. I think the stamp duty deadline caused a bit of a spike, and that's now kind of flatlined a bit. Anyway, this is a seller. We have been sold subject to contract for 2 weeks now. In that time, there's barely been any new listings of 4 and 5 bed homes within a 5-mile radius in Bedford. It's all very disheartening as we have a good buyer at a good price, but can't find our onward move. So that is why this is important, because if you're a seller and you want to sell and you want to move and you need to move, maybe you need more space, this can be a real problem because it can end up with you losing your buyer. And what they're saying is, we've looked, there's just nothing on the market. Is there more coming to the market? And I don't know whether there is or there isn't going to be more coming to the market in that area. Bedford's where they've just announced that giant new theme park, isn't it? But that's years away. It's not going to have an instant impact on the market. And so what I recommend people in this situation do, and this doesn't just apply to sellers who need to find somewhere to buy before they can sell. It applies to all buyers in this position where they can't find enough. Start looking at the homes that look like they're out of your budget and out of your reach, out of your price range, but that have been on the market for a prolonged period of time, so at least 3 months, and are still sitting there for sale, especially if they've been on for 6 months or longer, right? So, for example, if I had a £500,000 budget for a 5-bedroom house in Bedford, and I could see that there are houses that have been on the market for quite a long time that were listed at maybe 600, 650, even 700, I would go and start viewing them. That's what I'd do. Everyone, now, a lot of them will say, no, it's not enough money. You don't need to tell them your budget necessarily, but that is where you will find certain sellers who, it's not all of them, but some of them will just be like, we just want to sell it. We don't want to drop the price publicly because some people can think it's a bit humiliating or whatever. But that's what you can do, right? And I recommend you doing it. Everyone I have recommended to, so people who book the one-to-one private video calls with me, which you can do in the link below on Linktree, you'll find it to book a video call with me. I've had this conversation. I said, go and start looking at stuff that you thought was outside your price range. If not if it's just listed, but if it's been on the market for a while. And all of them came back and said, we have found somewhere that we never dreamed we'd be able to buy. And we've got it at an amazing price. Thank you very much. That's what I try to tell people. So in this situation where you've actually got some urgency, because otherwise you might lose your buyer, that's my recommendation to you. And so good luck with that one. And let's crack on. I want to just make sure I'm not missing any. Oh, I see. Here we go. Amanda De Silva says, hang on a second, let me just hide that. You raised red flags about the estate agent I chose. I think I remember. Fees were only 0.8%. That to me is a red flag. That is too low. And for those of you saying, no, agents make a fortune, they get paid far too much money for selling a house, it's easy, all they do is stick on Rightmove. The fact that agents' fees are so low is one of the reasons why the quality of service is so bad. They cannot afford the staff they need. They cannot afford to pay proper wages. They're not getting quality people necessarily because the salaries are too low, or they just don't have enough people, right? A good agent, a really good quality agent that's got enough staff to do the job, to answer the phones, to do the viewings, to not hold you up when you're a seller waiting for feedback, is charging at least 1.5%, if not 2%, right? And all the 1% agents, and there might be one-man band saying, it's just me, I've got no overheads, I can do it cheaper. They are actually having to work too hard. It's not enough money to do the job properly. And you might say, well, hang on, why is it 1%? Why is it any harder to sell £1 million house than it is to sell a 200 grand house? Well, because there are far fewer buyers at £1 million. It's much harder to find them. It's much harder to get the viewings. It just takes longer. Expectations are higher. There have to be more views. There's all kinds of reasons, right? And actually the value that good agents provide is making sure that whatever's happening in the market, they get you the best price the market will pay for your home. So this is why I always say avoid cheap agents. And when you find a good agent that you really like and trust, pay the fee they ask. Don't ask someone to come on your Please Sell My Home team and then disappoint them by saying, but by the way, I don't think you're worth what you're charging, so I'm going to chip you on it. It's utterly demoralizing and demotivating. And you start off your relationship with your agent, with whom you will be working closely to sell your house, walk out the door feeling dejected. So just don't, you want them motivated to sell your home hard, more than they're selling all the other ones that they're selling. Right, looking for some questions now, before I go into the ONS stuff. Matt, I think that was your question I just answered, wasn't it? The private one you sent me. I flagged it earlier. I didn't realize it was the same person. There you are. That's answered. Do it with Paulie says, why can't we just advertise our own houses for sale? You can. You can. Good luck with that. If you think that it's easy to sell a house, ask yourself why the people who do it for a living can't sell them. And there are so many sitting there unsold. And why so many of them that they do sell then fall through and the deal falls through. You have no idea about the gauntlet of pitfalls and nightmares waiting for you if you try to sell your house on your own. Some people occasionally get lucky. If you've got a very unusually rare and desirable house in a location where they never come up for sale, then word of mouth in that village is going to sell a house for you, probably. But if you got an ordinary, run-of-the-mill, conventional, mainstream type home, where there are lots like yours, you're going to have a nightmare. You're going to be dealing with tire kicking time wasters that you haven't qualified properly. You're not going to get, the whole market won't even know your house is for sale properly. So I warn strongly against doing that. But there we are. You know, honestly, if it worked, I would tell you how to do it, but it's just a nightmare. Let me show you now. And look at this. So this is something I wanted to show you. So this is an example of a property for sale in Taunton. It's on the Best Agent site, which is all properties on the Best Agent site. And what we can see from the timeline on this one is that the property went under offer in January with Greenslade Taylor Hunt, and obviously it's fallen through. And it's come back onto the market with a different agent, £25,000 more. Why would anyone think that's a good idea? So what's happened there is that other agent has said, oh no, you were just with a terrible agent. We're much better. We can get you much more. Just sign our long agency contract and see what happens. And a seller's going to go, you know, that's what a seller wants to hear. Oh, that other agent wasn't very good. Did they disappoint you? And was it bad service? Yes, well, we're great. We're great. We can get you more money. Agents don't determine what the market will pay for your house. What they do is bring your house to the market in such a way that you find the full market for your house. It's complicated. It's not just a question of advertising it on Rightmove. And anyone who thinks it is, including the agents think it is. I mean, that's why they're terrible agents to think that, oh, just stick it on Rightmove. And there are agents that do that and think that, and they're terrible. Anyone who thinks that all you do, you're missing a massive point and a massive trick. So, you know, who knows what the story behind that one is. But then today, just a few hours ago, we have the dear old Daily Fail. House prices surge by £13,000 on average in the last 12 months. This is not true, by the way. This is not true. This is them misquoting ONS data that is also in itself misquoted. Okay. Now let's just so you, those of you who doubt me about the ONS and what a bunch of absolute twaddle their house price index is. So this article goes on to say prices have risen 5.4% across the year, putting the price of a typical UK property at £268,000, according to official data published by the ONS, right? £268,000. Ooh, that sounds like a very precise figure. It must be right? And they're going up. I mean, the Daily Mail says that the ONS says that they're all going up everywhere. Well, let's just have a look. What did the ONS say house prices were this time last year? Because they're saying they've gone up. Can you see that? They are saying the prices have risen by 5.4% across the year. So that means a year ago, that price must have been 5% lower than that. So about 13 grand lower than that. So about 255,000, right? Let's just have a quick look at what they said last year then. And here we are. April 2024, that's a year ago, right? And it's released in April. It's the prices for February. Let's just scroll down to where they actually mention the house prices. Wait, hang on a second. That's 208. Wait, that's more. That's come down. Hang on. So it's 268,000 now, and it was 281,000 last year. And this is on the ONS's own page. What the devil's going on? Like, I'm not making this up. You can go and find this data for yourself. I have a very generous follower called Mark Tabbert who works in data analysis, and he produces these graphs every month after the ONS produces its average house price revisions downwards. And what you can see here is this is a graph showing. So what you've got to understand is that when the ONS first announces, like it has today, today we can announce that house prices rose year on year from February to this February, 5.4%. First of all, it's on a tiny sample of land registry data, like 8% of the market, right? So guess what's going to happen as they start to get more and more completions registered? It's going to get revised. Okay. Well, that seems reasonable, Charlie. They're putting it out and they're saying that average house prices are a certain thing based on a tiny number of transactions from February. Okay, yeah. So what are the revisions? How much do they revise it? Well, there you are. It's on that graph. That graph is ONS data. And yes, it's an even bigger than normal revision because they just, out of the blue a couple of months ago, dropped prices by about 20 grand across the board. But the point is that, and Mark's next graph is a much better one to explain this. So this is the ONS's average price. So this is the headline average price that they announced, like they did today, right? Where they said it's 268,000 today. I'll explain this because it really will make sense. So ignore that last bit. I'll come to what it does, why that red dotted line suddenly drops at the end. I'll come to that in a minute. That red dotted line is the average price in the UK that the ONS reported in their first release, their first bulletin. So that's what they announce, is the dotted blue line, right? Those are the prices that they announce all through, it's going back, so 4 years this is going back, right? And the blue line is what those average prices from those months was subsequently revised down to. Okay? Please really let that sink in. That is the revision. Now, what happened with that sudden dropping of the red dotted line is that with a very sort of unsatisfactory partial explanation of some sort of recalibration, last month or the month before, I think it was February actually, the ONS said, we're going to completely revise down all of our house prices for the last 50 years. It's very bizarre. No explanation given, but that's what we're doing. We're going to revise down our entire house price data set for the last 50 years. And that's what it does, right? So they're now revising down the headline figures. And the blue line has not yet had a chance to catch up because we haven't yet had the downward revisions since then. Okay? But the point is, whenever you see articles like this, house prices surge by £13,000. I mean, I honestly want to take these journalists out and just go, have you no professional self-respect other than to just literally copy and paste headlines from the ONS without actually, is the government's information that they're publishing every month actually accurate, or are we just believing it straight out of the gates? Well, all of these guys are just believing it straight out of the gates. No questioning. And worse, they don't report the reductions. The only one who has is Josh Kirby at the Telegraph. And he deserves a mention because he has reported this. But no one wants to know, do they? If you're a homeowner, do you want to know? Do you want to think the house prices have gone down? Nobody wants to know. Nobody wants to know. Nobody wants to know if house prices go down. Nobody wants to know, except for buyers, of course. But everyone who owns a house, no, la 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 la, don't want to know. Right, let's take some more questions. Boz, hello. You're putting words into my mouth. Charlie is of the belief that we are entering into an inflationary depression that will be worse than 1929 and 2008 combined. That's a very, very precise thing to quote me having said it. I don't think I've ever said that. Boz said 47. I mean, I do think things are going to be pretty bad, but I don't think I've ever said that. Please don't misquote me. Oh, wicked. That's nice. That's a very rare thing. JB Seguin says, want to say thanks for all your insight, Charlie. I'm 1.5 years into my estate agency career, and it's really helped me orient myself and obtain quality vendors. You are absolutely welcome, and thank you very much for saying that. Please make sure you are subscribed to the Best Agent YouTube channel. And if you haven't already seen it, go and look up the Best Agent video about the Dovey system, D-O-V-I. the most valuable information on that channel is there. And there's a playlist of those videos. So go and have a look at that. Hatterbest29 says, but Charlie, estate agents, literally 99% of them are still overpricing and refusing to admit it. They literally say it's worth the money, whilst houses sit there and vendors refuse to budge. Yes, that's true. It is as much because of sellers' unreasonable expectations as it is because of agents overpricing. The two things make each other worse, right? It's like they're egging each other on. Oh, well, I saw this headline that house prices have gone up, says the seller. And the agent goes, yes, they're absolutely right. And that's why we can get you this amazing, amazing price. I mean, how many sellers watching this had that conversation in their living room and about sitting on the market 6 months later, wondering why there's tumbleweed blowing past the for sale sign outside their house? But refusing to admit it publicly, yes. But in private, and I talk to them in private, lots of them, in private, they're like, there is literally no choice. Sellers are so convinced of their home's value that if you tell them the truth about the home's value, they won't instruct you. They just won't instruct you, right? If you go in as the only realistic valuation, and 2 or 3 other agents have been in with higher ones than you, they will never instruct the agent that gives the lowest valuation. And the truthful valuation is always much lower than the others. So if you have 3 or 4 agents in, and 3 or 4 of them are in the same overvaluing ballpark, and one is honest, what sellers do to that is, well, that guy was an idiot, clearly an idiot. He's going to sell our house too cheap. When actually, what they've done is just thrown out the only professional and honest agent. And so when you are a professional, honest agent and everyone just throws you out and rejects you and doesn't give you any business, what choice do you have left to do? Now, I'm working with an agent now, and it's working like an absolute charm. And I can't wait to share the details of who it is with you. But I can't do that just yet. Where they have said, look, Charlie, we are an honest, decent agent who at the moment are given no choice but to lie about valuations in order to win any business. And then we win the business, and then we can't sell it because it's overpriced, and it's really, really hurting us, and we're struggling, and we can't keep going like this. What do we do? And I said, you don't give valuations. What do you mean? I said, you don't give valuations. You talk about the process, not the price. When someone says, what's my house worth? What do you think my house is worth, Mr. Agent? You say, we have no idea. The market decides what your house is worth, but this is how we find out exactly what the market will pay for your house. Oh, okay. And they then explain the very detailed, nuanced, subtle, complicated process of bringing a house to the market in just the right way that you do get lot. And the very first property that they did this with after I started working with them, which is 1.3 million pounds it went on the market at in the end, they had 30 viewings in the first 2 weeks. They had to do open house viewings. They had 7 offers, and it went for £120,000 over the asking price. That's the process. That's what happens, right? But it took me a while to train them and say, what do we say when they're worried that maybe others have said it's more and what if it's not? I said, if you explain the process to them, 2 things happen. First of all, you're reinforcing the fact that the market decides the price. And if a seller isn't going to come to terms with the fact that the market decides the price, you don't want that seller. You don't want them, right? But if the seller actually believes you, they're going to be like, oh my God, you're the only agent saying this. And within a matter of weeks, this has worked so well that lots of the buyers coming to see those realistically priced properties are also sellers locally going, this is amazing. You're getting these houses sold within 2 or 3 weeks at over asking price. Yeah. Well, then can you sell my house? And so this agent is now having business literally offered to it on a plate rather than having to go out and lie about the price. And the golden rule that I've got them to commit to is never give a value. And they said, that's really hard. I said, you've got to stick to it. You've got to say because the market is unpredictable in many ways at the moment. I said, you've got to stick to that. If they understand the process, they'll be confident in it. And as long as you get it right and you do get the multiple viewings and you do get the multiple offers, then you can clearly show you demonstrated the value, the market for that property. And it's working. And it's working with all of them. And they've gone back to their older, overvalued clients who are on the market at too high price and said, look, we can't sell your house at that price. Sorry. Yes, we agreed to too high a price when we took you on because that's what we had to do to get your business. But now we understand that you may not want to stay with us. That's fine. Please go to another agent, unless you would like to let us do our job now, which is bring the price down to the market, get you lots of buyers to the door. And they've done that. And every single one of the sellers has either gone, well, if that's what we have to do to find out what the market's for house and sell it, then yeah, sure. Or the seller's gone, no, I want this much. And they're going, okay, cool. Thanks very much. Go and find an agent who says he can get you that much and good luck. So, I am working behind the scenes with agents facing this challenge on a daily basis. And what I'm saying is, and it's because this is the whole ethos behind my website, Best Agent, which is that transparency breeds trust and trust breeds transactions, right? And it's true, because when you are utterly transparent with your selling clients and your buyers as an agent, they do start to trust you. They realize they know they're not being lied to because nothing you've said could possibly be a lie. It's all just totally transparent. But only the very best agents, and by that I mean it's not just about having the right attitude, it's about actually having the knowledge and expertise of knowing exactly how you bring a house. And by the way, for that house I just told you about, they got a record price in the street and a record price per square foot for that house in that area. So anyone going, oh, well, they put it on too low and they sold it. No, they didn't. They got a record price in a tough market. Okay, so this is an absolutely infallible system. It works. And I'm doing this work with this agent because I want to have a case study that I can publicize and go, look what happens when you stop lying about property values. Look what happens when you say to an agent, when they ask you how much, when you say to a seller who asks how much is my house worth, you say, don't know, not going to put a number on it. What we are going to do is explain to you how we discover what it's actually worth, which is competing bids. Let me walk you through the process of how we do that. And it works like a charm every single time. And sometimes there's a bit of an awkward conversation to be had about the actual launch price, because they tend to do some pre-market viewings where they take their very proceedable hot buyers that they know are interested in property like that and say, look, we're bringing this house to the market. It's not on the market yet. We haven't put a price on it yet, but it's just what you're looking for. Come and have a look. And that sometimes yields offers that starts to guide to sort of inform how they then end up working out with the seller what the right launch price is to attract those multiple buyers. Anyway, Hatterbez, thank you for that question, because I hope that was worth explaining to all of you. And I just wanted you all to know, because I get lots and lots of new followers every single week. I have never been an agent, but I have had estate agents as my clients for 25 years. I've built CRM systems and management information systems for agency. And I've worked with agents from Mayfair in central London to all over the country, high volume agents selling lots and lots and lots of lower priced homes. And I've seen every different kind of agency there is, and I've seen what works and what doesn't. And so I still have not yet met anybody who knows more about the estate agency processes than I do. If there is such a person, I would love to meet them, because I will learn from them. And I keep on saying, and a few people in my industry are like, Charlie's so arrogant. What does he think? Hey, prove me wrong. Right? Genuinely prove me wrong. Okay. But 25 years of being in and out of estate agents' businesses all around the country, and actually becoming a consultant and working with them and helping them run the business, not just their tech. I've seen it all, the best and the worst. Hatterbez saying the estate agents too gutless to tell the truth to sellers. Not one of them has any talent. It's not true. About 10% of agents, 10 to 15% of agents are good or very good. They are just difficult to find. Because in my experience, the agents who are best at the job of getting a house sold quickly at the best price and holding that deal together through to completion tends to not be very good at marketing. That's like that genuine is the truth, right? You get these big shiny corporates and guys who are amazing in social media and amazing in marketing, but that's a completely different skill to actually getting a house sold reliably and quickly. Do we have more questions? I want seller questions. Seller. Come on, where are you? Oh, Boswells, don't worry. No apology necessary, but thanks. Appreciated, accepted. So Amanda De Silva, who's the seller saying that they got tricked by the wrong agent. The valuation manager was convincing. They always are. That's why they have that job. They wouldn't have that job if they weren't convincing. Saying that they could get competing offers. So when you have a valuation manager or a branch manager, whoever sitting in your house trying to get you to sell your house with them, and they say, yeah, we can definitely get competing offers. The question you say is, how? Because you say, all agents say that. And then they say, oh, we put it on Rightmove. No. That's just copy and paste boilerplate bollocks. How do you get competing buyers? What do you do that other agents don't do? What do you do differently? So you cannot mention Rightmove, and you cannot mention Zoopla, and you cannot mention Best Agent, and you cannot mention social media, because that's what all agents do. I want to know why you, Mr. and Mrs. Agent, are different, and the process that you follow that guarantees we get competing buyers. And now they're saying you may need to reduce the price in a week's time and you feel let down. Yeah. And Amanda, this is a very, very common story. And it's very, very sad. And I tried to give you a heads up and warn you. But this is what happens. And so many sellers just get convinced. Well, they seem like a really nice guy. They know what they're doing. It's really convincing. Peter Harris says, what is the point of getting 3 sales price quotes? None. I have been trying to stop this advice to sellers because, Peter, you are quite right. Anywhere you go and you look on the internet and Google, how do I sell my house? How do I choose an agent? Every single last ... article you read goes, pick 3 agents. And immediately that's put you at a disadvantage. They never tell you how to pick one. Look for one that's got a good website. Look for one that's on the portals. I mean, it's the most vacuous, empty, hollow, useless, bullshit advice that's been out there for decades. And yet here we are with people having longer sale times than ever before. Right? Peter is quite right. There's no point in getting 3 sales price quotes. There is no point in asking agents to come around and tell you what they think your house is worth. There's no point. No point. Right? You should only be asking them, I want to know how you get competing bids. How? Don't just tell me you can. I want to know how. Hatterbest says, yeah, but surely, Charlie, when you get an instruction, you incur costs. What's the point of that if you've got no hope of selling it? You're absolutely right. Now, the former managing director of Foxtons stood up at an estate agents conference in Sydney, Australia, and said to a room full of business owners, what we do at Foxtons is we tell sellers anything they want to hear about the price, whatever price they say, we say, yes, sure, just sign here. And we only sell 1 in 4 of them, and we never know which ones they're going to be, because some of them just stick with us until the contract runs out and then change. So what? Doesn't matter. They're sitting on our shelves. They're bringing us inquiries, and the other 25% do sell and pay our 2.5% fee, and we make lots of money because the costs we incur from listing the properties are small enough that we can list 4 properties to only sell 1 and still make fat profits. And that technique still works to this day. 1 board every minute. New sellers all the time go, oh, God, that's really worth that much. You really didn't get it. And they just sign the dotted line. And, I've been doing this. I've been saying this for years, and it hasn't scratched the surface of the problem. tomorrow, thousands of home sellers will wide-eyed go, oh, really? Okay, and sign a long solemnity contract. Thousands of you. You will ignore this advice. And I know that there are sellers who watch my videos and then go out and ignore this advice. They're like lambs to the slaughter, like lemmings running off a cliff. And I just don't know how to get people to understand it. I mean, one of the things is that you do need to have a good agent that knows what they're doing, and there aren't too many of those. Beverly Silcock says, Charlie question, sold house prices on Rightmove showing now from February 2025, thought it took ages to show. So there will be, so yeah, if they completed in February and they got registered straight away, these are the 8% of transactions I was talking about, which actually do reach the land registry and get published. Okay, so they will begin, but it's going to be a very, very small number. On average, it's about 9 months. Peter Harris correctly asks, conglomerate agents are never going to do this, are they? The whole market is a cartel. At the corporate level, yes, exactly that. Amanda De Silva says, luckily I have a 0 weeks contract. Well, that is, thank God you didn't sign that. Fantastic. I just want to sell quickly. How do I know when to change agents? You feel let down, so now is the time to change agents. So you should now start talking to other agents and say, I feel let down. I understand the market determines the price of my house. I want to bring it to market at a price that gets competing buyers. What's your process? What's your process? Do not ask them how much they think they can get. When you ask an agent, how much do you think my house is worth? It's literally what they hear is, I don't know anything about the process, so I'm going to ask a question that makes me, just because I don't know what else to ask. I don't know what else to ask. JB Seguin, who's an agent. By the way, whereabouts are you an agent, JB? This is absolutely golden. Charlie is absolutely right. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Chris says, brilliant info, by the way, Charlie. Really enjoying learning about this stuff. I don't know if you're a buyer or seller or an agent, but that's fantastic. And I wish we would just spread the word. Charlie's calming chat helps. Calming. I'm feeling quite wound up and stressed just to hearing all of you struggling so much. Paris H says, I moved into my property a couple of months ago. I remember. Congratulations. Well done. And last weekend, I had Foxtons here touting for business. They tried to say I could sell for 325,000. I've only just bought it for 280,000. So there you are, ladies and gents. That is 20%. That is almost exactly 20% over. So 20% would be 56,000, and they valued it at 55,000 pounds more. Absolute scammers. They're not the only ones. Not the only ones. Okay. Chanello's a seller with a question here. My buyers are insisting on an extra £12,000 off the sale price, despite me already giving £15,000 off. They say the windows need doing, which will cost £12,000. They do need doing, but not imminent and can wait. Yeah, but then they're going to cost even more than £12,000. He or she goes on to say, I got a quote at £4,500, but the windows can wait as they are not condensed or sweating. I'm not sure what to do as not desperate to sell. Well, your choice is to say, sorry, no, I won't lower the price. Goodbye. That's your prerogative to do that. Or meet them halfway and go, look, I've had a quote for £4,500, not 12. So I'll take £5,000 off or £6,000 off. Or if the buyer is sticking to their guns, you then got a decision to make, which is, do I accept the new lower price and move on with my life or not? And this is where I often come, the phrase comes, it's about the move, not the money. Moving on with your life is more important than saving a few thousand quid. Okay, Valley asks a slightly exaggerated but nonetheless valid question. Hi, Charlie. So if I have a budget of 800,000, can I view a property that's sold in 2021 for 2.25 million? They added a hot tab and now asking 2.5 million. Could I offer 800,000? Yes, you can offer what you like. You don't need anyone's permission. It's not against the law. You can offer whatever you like to whoever you like. You do not need mine or anyone else's permission. But in more serious context, especially some of those very, very bad. I mean, I actually had an example. I wish I could find it now of a property where the seller has lost millions on it in about a similar period of time. Millions. They overpaid at the top of the market in 2021, and they've now just sold it for millions less. So I'm not saying they're going to accept 800,000, but my point is that if you're going to look at a property that's been on the market for a very long time and they're desperate enough to sell, and you're the only offer, sometimes they have no choice. That's how I got my first property back in 1995. When house prices priced in gold were at their absolute peak and have been falling ever since. But in nominal terms, I did very well on it after that. But I offered £23,500 on a property listed at £35,000, a lower ground floor flat in Brighton. And I got it because I made the offer. Remember the agent saying, God, we never expected anyone would even come and look at this place. I said, well, don't get too excited. And they sold it. Hi, Charlie. So Valley again says, why are sellers adding an extra 200 grand more on properties that were bought in 2020, 2021? Because of articles like that Daily Mail one, because of the ONS lying about house prices going up and then keeping very quiet about revising them down and not telling anybody, because of Foxtons and people like that overvaluing, because of sellers being unrealistic. And all of this is a virtuous, it's just like a vicious cycle of overvaluing doom that feeds itself. That's why. Hoxton Hotspur, could you copy and paste it again at the bottom? Then I can't scroll up and look, it'll take ages. Mike 13 says, isn't there nowadays enough info for free to see what sold prices are? You would think so, wouldn't you? You would think so. What an utterly reasonable suggestion and question, Mike 13. But no. And the most shocking thing is that HMRC possesses all completion prices of all transactions up to 2 weeks ago. Why? Because anyone selling their house or buying a house, conveyancers are legally required to pay the stamp duty within 14 days of completion. So for every single last residential property sale that happens, has to be reported to HMRC within 2 weeks. They have 100% of the house price data. They could publish it, but they don't. But they do publish, for example, HMRC does publish real-time PAYE data. So it's not like they can't do it, they just don't. And so if you really want to get accurate sold data, you get a trickle of what's happening after 2 to 3 months after it completed. Just a trickle, like, a handful of percent of transactions start. But even those are for transactions that were agreed 5 months before that. So 5 months plus 2 or 3 months, you're talking 8 to 9 months from when the deals are being agreed. So from when what the market was. That is, at the moment, the most accurate. And it's 9 months is the youngest house price data you can really get if you want to know what's happening at the coalface of prices being agreed. And that is why on Best Agent, I've built the house price index. It's a public house price index, a totally transparent index of exchange house prices that is built but not yet populated with enough data. But we will be doing that, and we will be publishing exchange prices in larger numbers than the ONS and Land Registry are. And that house price index will blow all of the other guffy bullshit indexes out of the water, and people will be able to see what's actually happening. And transparency will unlock social mobility in this country. And that's why I'm building Best Agent. Got to wrap it up soon, but Bogdan, who's asking, how long should my buyer's mortgage application take? Offer in place approximately 5 weeks. Is that normal? 5 weeks, it's not. I mean, they're being a bit sleepy and slow, and a lot of buyers take a long time to get their paperwork ready together to their mortgage broker. So it's getting a bit long. Yeah, you should definitely chase that. Questions. 16 Showtime says, I'm still waiting for the seller's contract pack. It's been 2 weeks since offer accepted. Is this normal? Yes, it's normal, but no, it's not necessary, and it's terrible, and it's very, very bad. And sellers, and by the way, if you're a seller watching this, in the link below, in the description below, or in the show notes, if you're listening to this on podcast, there's a link to a video called Charlie's 10 Golden Rules for Home Sellers. Please watch it. It's free. Please watch it. You will learn more about how to avoid these pitfalls in that video than anything else. And one of the things it will say to you is, make sure you've got your seller's contract pack ready when you come to market, for this exact reason. Buyers don't want to wait. They want to crack on. And you'll get more buyers competing if you are contract ready. Chanel Best says, wise words, I do need to move, so we'll do that and report back. Thank you, Charlie and Paulie. You're welcome. Okay. Oh, Valley, sorry. Valley meant 1.5 million, not 2.5 million. So yeah, 800,000 on a 1.5 million asking price isn't that outrageous. Or not as outrageous as it would have been on 2.5 million. Hoxton Hotspur asks, what are the advantages or disadvantages of selling house by open house? Sorry. So I worked with a lot of estate agents in Sydney, Australia, and that was pretty much the only way they did it, right? Like, the house comes to the market, open viewing day, everyone comes on the same day. That's it. That's just the way it's done. And the advantage being, it's a much quicker sale. So, for example, that agent I'm working with, who had 30 viewings in 2 weeks, that was basically the 2 open houses that it had. Okay, so first lot of viewings, and they came back. The ones who wanted to view it again came back the second weekend, and there were some more people there as well. And the advantage is that the agent has succeeded in creating the market for your property, and the buyers will also go, well, this is the market for this property. And some buyers will stomp off in half, going, well, I'm not getting a bidding war, and that's fine. That's their prerogative, no problem with that. And people who really want the house and decide that they want it will go, okay, well, this is a competitive market, and that will factor into whatever they offer. The only disadvantage, and it's a very minimal one in my opinion. I mean, no buyers like it. You want to go around on your own, don't you? But that is a much slower, more expensive way of selling a house. The only disadvantage is that some buyers get all huffy and go, well, I'm not coming unless I can come on the day I want to come. But in my book, that's a buyer that's not serious about buying it anyway, so I wouldn't worry about it. So generally speaking, open house is only possible when you've priced it correctly enough to get lots of competing buyers. Amanda De Silva says, you are so right about focusing on moving on with life rather than making a bit more money. The house I'm selling was my mum's, who died in 2023, and it's quite emotional. It's always, when it comes to buying and selling homes as opposed to investments, it's always about the move, not the money. It's always about, of course, money is a factor, but don't let money get in the way of the move. Hoxton follows up with saying, how long should agents give notice of sale to the public? So typically when they launch a property, 7 to 10 days, sometimes 2 weeks notice of an open house. Valley says, I may have missed it, but why are the national press reporting this week house prices are going up? Yes, you have missed it. I have covered that. Rewind the video. I've covered it. Not going to do it again for obvious reasons. Chris asks, when is it worth considering auctioning your property rather than a standard sale. Okay. There are only two reasons that properties go to auction, and only two reasons that they should go to auction. The first, in no particular order, the first reason is because there are complications with that property. There might be complications with the title deed, there might be complications with the structure or the survey or the building, and there might be complications that make it not mortgageable. There's a long list of things that makes the property much more complicated and not therefore as appealing to the open market. And therefore, it's much, much harder to price that property. So you put it in an auction where you will discover the price for it. If you need to sell it and there are complications, that's often the best way. If you want to sell your property that has a complication on the open market through an estate agent, that's fine, but make sure you put the full details of the complication front and center of the marketing. And if you do that, you've got a better chance of selling it for a better price than if it goes to auction. The other reason for selling at auction is speed. You'll get, as long as you don't have a reserve, you're pretty much guaranteed a sale. So there are some sellers who go, I need this sold within this amount of time, guaranteed. It's the only, there are no guarantees you're going to get any bids, but it's the only way to guarantee. And the modern method of auction is not a guarantee of sale. The modern method of auction is a bit scammy and a bit dodgy and a bit risky. And it's just a bit, just don't do it, basically. But a proper auction, where when the hammer falls, the buyer has exchanged contracts, is worth doing for some people in certain situations. But if speed is of the essence, I would still say go to an estate agent, and because on the open market you are likely to get more. You won't get an exchange when that, immediately like you would at an auction, but you might get one very fast if you say to the agent, I want this house exchanged within 28 days from today. Do whatever you have to do, sold in 28 days, please. That agent will bring it to the market at a very compelling price compared to everything else in the market, and say the seller wants it very fast. It must exchange in 28 days. So you're looking for cash buyers only, or mortgage buyers who can get a survey done and be ready to exchange very fast. So yeah. Yes, I'm going to trademark my quote. It's about the move, not the money. That's what the housing market is. It's about the move, not the money. I hope that helps, Chris. I've now got to wrap up. I've gone over an hour, and I promised I wouldn't to someone who's waiting for me. So guys, please remember, sellers, go and watch the video that's in the description under this one, and it's called Charlie's 10 Golden Rules for Home Sellers. If you're watching this somewhere where the description's not there, if you just search for that on Google or on YouTube, you will find it. Charlie's 10 Golden Rules for Home Sellers. The 10 Golden Rules of Selling Homes. Though that search, you will find that video. Watch that video. Please watch that video, and please listen to everything. Don't go through them. Pick the ones you like and pick the ones you don't like. Follow every step. That's why they're called golden rules. Don't think you know better, and don't think your mate who works in an estate agent knows better. He doesn't, right? They are there for a reason. I'm not. It doesn't cost me anything either way whether you listen or don't listen to the advice. But the number of people I get contacting me who say, I've been watching your show for a long time, and I've watched all your videos, and I've done this and this, but I haven't done that. I just always find that very curious. So watch that video. And remember, please, sellers, most conveyancers are as crap as most estate agents are. You've got to find a good conveyancer, especially in this market, or your sale is at a greater risk of falling through. You need a proactive, responsive, professional conveyancer. Find one that is those things and that you trust. Pay. Do not worry about, never go to a cheap conveyancer, never go to a cheap agent. Save money on your daily overhead. Save money on your bills and your fuel and that kind of stuff. On one-off professional services, never go cheap in any area of life. Honestly, it's one of the most stupid things I see people do all the time. Absolutely save money on your running costs, your overhead, your bills, and your cost of living. But when you need a professional for a one-off service, don't skimp on that. It's really, really self-defeating. And by the way, when you start talking to conveyancers and say, I want to get my property sale pack ready or contract ready. I want all the paperwork ready for an immediate exchange before I bring it to the market. If this conveyancer says, oh, no, that's not necessary, just give us a call when you've got an offer. Just put the phone down. Just put the phone down. Don't even bother saying goodbye. Put the phone down and do not use that conveyancer, because that conveyancer has just demonstrated that they don't understand that they can offer a way to add value to your sale. Because if they did get your property contract ready, they're going to make it a more saleable, get more buyers interested, get it sold faster, and have a smaller chance of falling through just by starting the process a bit earlier. Like that buyer asked earlier on, why am I having to wait so long for my seller to put the contract pack in place? Okay, get a conveyancer. If you can't find one you trust, please go and try my guys, mhwc.co.uk/conveyancing. I work with 2 national award-winning privately owned companies. I've been and visited them to both. One's in Sunderland and one's in Cheltenham. They are outstanding, both of them. They will not let you down. And I can say that one of them I've been working with for 3 years. And the only complaint I ever had was a completely spurious trying to get money off complaint, and wasn't a valid complaint at all. Actually, the person complaining had caused a problem by withholding information. They are outstanding. So if you want an outstanding seller, conveyancer as a seller, I can vouch for these guys personally. That's what I do. I've got to go. I've got to go, guys. Have a fantastic night. See you soon. Have a great Easter if I don't see you before then. And see you in the next one. Bye, guys. Good night.